Good evening, everyone. Namaste to all, and welcome to the Mandala Festival. We'll start with a short prayer. You can join, uh, keep yourselves on mute. You can join us if you know the chant. अखण्डमण्डलाकारम् व्याप्तं येन चराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्न विराजितपदाम्बुजः वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्यो यः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्यः शाश्वतः शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनादकलातीतः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ज्ञानशक्तिसमारूढः तत्त्वमाला विभूषितः भुक्तिमुक्तिप्रदाता च तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्मसम्प्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। शोषणं भवसिन्धोश्च ज्ञापनं सारसम्पदः गुरोः पादुदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to the Mandala Festival, and thank you for joining. Mandala Festival is a festival by definition, and like every other festival, it is a festival of something. I mean, very easy to say it's a festival of mandalas. So there's a short clip that I would like to share with everyone, just to give a glimpse of what Mandala Festival and mandalas are about.
Harsh, you're muted.
Yes, thank you. So, Mandala Festival is a festival of seeing. What to see? And I was thinking about it for a very long time. We are seeing everything. There are colors, there are a lot of things that we see. And then something struck me. At one point in time, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, Bhagwan Sri Krishna tells Arjuna this. Natu mam shakyashe drashtum anenaiva swachakshusha. You cannot see me or my forms with your own eyes. It's a big problem. Anyways, he had so many problems. But he also provided the solution in the next line. Divyam dadami te chakshuhu pashyame yogam aishwaram. Like I will give you the eyes, the sight, divya chakshu, to see my yogam aishwaram, the bindu and the expansion. And today is a symbol of celebrating that ability to see from the bindu till the expansion, which is what happened eventually in the story in the 15th verse. Pashyami devams tava deva dehe sarvams tatha bhuta vishesha sangham brahmanamisham kamalasanastham rishimscha sarvam urgamscha divyam. Very descriptively he says, I can see so many things, but he had put one condition earlier. I want to see it only in this form, in your boundary. So we start today's Mandala Festival with this prayer and also this vision that we all see. And who better to make us see than so many wonderful people who have seen it before? So we start with a few folks people who have really worked on the ability to see. But what to see? What is a mandala? And I have pestered Prasad a lot on this. honestly, like literally. Now I can say it. And the response is fairly straightforward. Mandala is the figurative or auditory representation of the cosmic principle. The cosmic principle, figurative respiration, a lot of big words for me. So I just put one slide. There is one truth according to Rig Veda. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. One truth is said in many different ways. Very important word here, vipra, people who can see. So I started to think the universe is one, the universal structure is one, the universal center is one, the universal existence is one. And then there is Mandala that comes out through our own breath, to our own. And that's what we explore. Through that, we explore all the existential components that we can get in touch with. And today, my understanding of Mandala has reached there. And I hope that will expand by the end of this session. So, before we go further, let's set a very simple stage. Mandala Festival is a celebration, and it is a celebration of seeing these cosmic representations of the cosmic principle, of the Tattva, Brahma Tattva. Now, stepping towards this in a celebratory manner, we have a performance by Kanishka. A little bit about Kanishka. Kanishka is here, right? Yes. So Kanishka is a Bharatanatyam dancer. She has trained for 10 years and she is currently pursuing dance movement therapy. She is currently in the pursuit of diving deeper into what is on her exploration list, and she is inculcating consistency in her journey. As a dancer, she always strives to connect to the intricate details of the piece she wants to perform and brings in a little bit of her style in the creation that is learned. Dance helps her to hold the essence of every lesson she learns by being absorbed in the present. The presentation today has imbibed Mandala and how the worship of Krishna from Vrindavan is tied into it. But before we step into it, let's hear a little about what is it that we are about to see from Kanishka herself. Over to you, Kanishka.
Thank you. Namaskaram. So today's performance is of two different aspects a dancer always experiences in her life. One is the geometry and other one is the expression. So we are trained to be a dancer of Nritta and Nritya. Nritta is the Adavu, the basics aspects, like we perform using our body. So the body first comes in and it gives a strong base to us to get into express what we are going to express and connect with the ultimate. So the real goal of being a dancer, especially a Bharatanatyam dancer, is to connect to the highest power. So I've started with Allaripu, which means blossom. Allaripu is the first item, which is quite like a warm up, and also it makes us settle in the body. So I presented Allaripu in a different way from what I've learned. So I start in a mandala. So there is a little mandala where I'll be dancing. I'll start from the center and I'll expand myself. And at the end, I'll come to the same center, which will give the essence. Because the fast footwork, which will be done in the end, is the actual essence of Allaripu. So I'll be completing in the center. That is the That is my contribution to what I've learned. And it was a different journey to me performing it. I had like, we need to have a lot of things in mind while dancing: the audience, us, and the dance. Here it was also the mandala which I added, because I wanted to do something to Mandala Festival also. And the next one is completely about how Krishna can come into anyone's life through anything. He comes as music. He even comes even before his name is being said. Even before being said Krishna, he comes into us. So that is the essence of the song, Ninrandamayil. Ninrandamayil is a Tamil composition. It's a padam. It's the other extreme of dance where less importance is given to the body, and more importance is given to this part, and also this part, the face, and what we are going to express. So Ninrandamayil is completely about a devotee. How passionate is she towards Krishna? And the stories will go forward as it is. There'll be two different stories. One is about showing how women in life explores her way, and it will be shown how they are attracted to Krishna in different stage. So it will be the smallest stage where the girl will be 6 to 12. She'll be playing, and she would forget herself while Krishna's flute is played. To the second stage of where they'll be in a particular phase of feeling as a woman, especially in the age of 18 to 21. And then finally, the mother stage, which is my favorite, is because as a mother, she has two important person in her life. One is a child, and also she cannot let go of Krishna. So it shows how she uses the flute music of her favorite Krishna for her child and also for herself. That is the state of awareness a mother has. She is still a devotee, but she is still devoted to her child also. So that is the first set of story. And the second set of story is where I've shown how distractions like Madhu, Madhu, Sudhu, which is drinking, basically intoxication, the desire towards women, and the third one is gambling. It will go in reverse. So it's gambling, drinking, and then women. How even before telling name of Krishna, how all of these would go out of us and how Krishna would come into us. So this is the story which I've been representing, and the literal lines will show, it will describes Krishna, and also it shows how mind wanders and get into these distractions. So this is the spread of the story and my performance. Thank you. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you, Ganishka. Without any break, let's just dive into the performance. The first one is Alaripu, as Ganishka described.
Ta te te yum ta tam kita taka ta te te yum ta tam kita taka tam dhit tam kita taka te ta te kita taka tam dhit tam kita taka te ta te kita taka tam dhit ta te tat te 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 tam dhit tam kita taka te tat te kita taka tam dhit tam kita taka te tat te kita taka tam dhit ta te tat te 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 tam धिताते तते तं 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 धित्तं किटतकते तते किटतकतं धित्तं किटतकते तते किटतकतं धित्ताते तत्ते तं धित्ताते तत्ते तं धित्ताते तत्ते तं धित्ताते तत्ते तं धिताते तते 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 तागतझं तरिता झं तरिचकतरिते तदिङ्गिनतुं तकतदिङ्गिनतुं तकतिकुतदिङ्गिनतुं तां
We now move to the second performance. Then run the line.
நின்றந்த மயிலொன்று தாளங்கள் போட நின்றந்த மயிலொன்று தாளங்கள் போட நின்றந்த மயிலொன்று தாளங்கள் போட நின்றந்த மயிலொன்று தாளங்கள் போட கண்டந்த வண்டொன்று ஹ்ரீங்காரம் பாட கண்டந்த வண்டொன்று ஹ்ரீங்காரம் பாட கண்டந்த வண்டொன்று ஹ்ரீங்காரம் பாட கன்றொன்று வாலினால் சாமரம் போட கண்டொன்று வாலினால் சாமரம் போட கண்ணன் குழலூதி கானங்கள் பாட கானங்கள் பாட கானங்கள் பாட நின்றந்த மயிலொன்று தாளங்கள் போட கண்டந்த வண்டொன்று ஹேங்காரம் பாட கன்றொன்று வாலினால் சாமரம் போட கண்ணன் குழலூதி கானங்கள் பாட கானங்கள் பாட கானங்கள் பாட கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த ಭಕ್ತ ಕೋಲಾಹಲ ಕಂದ ಬೃಂದಾವನಾನಂದ ಗೋಪೀ ಜನಾಂಬೋಧಿ ಚಂದ. நீல ஒளி மேனியதில் நின்றாடும் மாலை, பேருயரவானுயரவான பசுஞ்சோலை, நீல ஒளி மேனியதில் நின்றாடும் மாலை, பேருயரவானுயரவான பசுஞ்சோலை, கோலமொடு கோவிந்தன் குழலூதும் வேளை, 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 நில்லாது போகுமோ இங்கென்ன வேலை, இங்கென்ன வேலை, இங்கென்ன வேலை. கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த. ಭಕ್ತ ಕೋಲಾಹಲ ಕಂದ ಬೃಂದಾವನಾನಂದ ಗೋಪೀ ಜನಾಂಬೋಧಿ ಚಂದ. அங்கே இங்கே என்று அலையாதே மனமே, ஆழ்ந்து பாரும் உள்ளே பிருந்தாவனமே, அங்கே இங்கே என்று அலையாதே மனமே, 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 ஆழ்ந்து பாரும் உள்ளே பிருந்தாவனமே, தங்காது கண்ணனின் பேர் பாடும் முனமே, தங்காது கண்ணனின் பேர் பாடும் முனமே, தங்காது கண்ணனின் பேர் பாடும் முனமே, தானாக தோன்றுமே சங்கையே நினிமேல், சங்கையே நினிமேல், சங்கையே நினிமேல். கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த, கோவிந்த கோவிந்த ராதா முகுந்த. कोलाहला कंद बृंदावनानंद गोपी जनांबोधि चंद केशवा राधा मुकुंद नारायण राधा मुकुंद माधव राधा मुकुंद गोविंद राधा मुकुंद विष्णु राधा मुकुंद मधुसूदन राधा मुकुंद त्रिविक्रमा राधा मुकुंद वामन राधा मुकुंद श्रीधर राधा मुकुंद ऋषिकेश राधा मुकुंद पद्मनाभ राधा मुकुंद दामोदर राधा मुकुंद दामोदर राधा मुकुंद दामोदर राधा मुकुंद
Thank you. I request all of you, anyone who wishes to say anything, you can please type it out in the chat and I can read it out for Kanishka. Hey Kanishka, that was immersive, says Subbu.
Thank you, Subbu. Thank you for joining.
The sculpture itself was seen dancing in love with Krishna, says Dharani.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful Kanishka. It was totally immersed. Wish to watch you perform live. Arya.
Thank you, Arya.
Wonderful, graceful flow, Kanishka. Brilliant absorption. Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you for the opportunity.
I felt like I was traveling from movement in the Alaripu to deep stillness with your last movement, says Abhi Bhavisha Deepa Aishwarya.
Thank you.
Hey Kanishka, very touching performance. The body and the face can express so much. Just a sculpture moving, says Vinita.
Thank you.
There was so much energy emanating from your being, and I felt so drawn towards the union of the music, the movement, and the expressions. Thank you for such a great experience, says Aditya.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you.
I loved the contrast of black and orange in your dress. I am amazed to see Alaripu in this mandala format, says Deepa. I am moved beyond measure.
Thank you.
Hi Kanishka, felt like meditation to watch you dance, says Venu. I could see the story you explained in the dance, Kanishka. So beautiful, so graceful. My body danced watching you dance. Thank you for your performance, Kanishka. Goosebumps, says Divya.
Thank you so much, Divya.
I felt the Govinda in flow through you. Wonderful fluidity in dance and devotion, says Shivapriya.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubha.
Beautiful and graceful. Thank you for the soulful performance. Your expressions narrated a beautiful story, says Anvita.
Thank you, Anvi.
My kids saw a Bharatanatyam performance for the first time, says Harita.
Thank you, Harita.
Very divine and graceful. Control over your eye movement is mind blowing. Thank you so much, says Vishnu.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Excellent expression. who loves Krishna will definitely fall with your performance. Thanks for inviting me for this amazing and needed conceptual performance, Kanishka, says Nirmala.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing in the grace of Krishna through your dance. Beauty, grace, and divine. Thanks, Kanishka, says Sudarshan.
Darshan?
Hey, Kanishka, I was mesmerized by your dance. Thank you for sharing with us, says Harita.
Thank you, Harita.
Very, very graceful. So many expressions and such a great poise. The way you opened Mandala from center, Avarna by Avarna, was beautiful. Thank you so much for making the deity come alive, says
Thank you so much,
Bhagyashri.
Bhavya.
I joined in almost towards the end, but the flow and expression of your movements was beautiful. I feel like dancing again. Loved it, Kanishka, says Abhirami.
Thank you so much, Abhirama. I would love to watch you dance.
That was a splendid treat for eyes. Felt the devotion in your expression. Felt in love with each of the names of Krishna you expressed. Loved it, Kanishka, says Rama.
Thank you, everyone.
For, for me, Kanishka, this whole experience was watching life come alive through dance. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
It was
Um,
wonderful.
I just have one comment. Nindranda Mayil is a Kavadi singer. Credit as Padam. It's a Kavadi singer. I wanted to give credits to whoever sang this, whoever wrote this, is because when people tell Kavadi Chindu, we always imagine about a fast bhajan. It's literally a fast bhajan in Tamil Nadu, but taking the efforts to bring in the slow pace and bringing absorbed devotion in a Kavadi Chindu is very, very hard for a writer to write and also a singer to sing. So I was just realizing this when I was seeing the performance. So I wanted to add it. Gratitude to whoever wrote, sang. Thank you everyone for watching, taking time to write it
Thank you,
to me.
Kanishka.
Thank you.
So, taking the journey forward in today's celebration, we have with us someone who will be presenting on the health and the harmony of the inside and the outside. We have with us today Shivapriya, who is a polymath, whose recent endeavor started an understanding of more earthly connect via food production with naturality. Its enlarged relationship with different beings, including humans, and their gut behavior. Over to you, Shivapriya.
Thank you, Harsh. Just take a moment to share my screen. I would like to start with a small prayer. Please join with me if you know this prayer, Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। why this prayer? This is the first thing we start as an invocation. It is not just a prayer to me, it is more of inviting a lot of things coming together so that everybody involved in a particular procedure gets a benefit out of it. This prayer indicates whoever is there in this space, the teacher and the student. Let us all come together, be in this space, in that learning with a good intention and the divine's grace, all coming together and put it as one mandala. When I talk about Prakriti, all the living beings are actually a mandala of lot of things coming together. By saying this, I would like to extend my gratitude to the divine who has graced us, giving us this space for all of us to be in this together. The organizers of Mandala Festival, the knowledge which has come through me by different people, by different scriptures, the eternal fire which is being there inside, giving me the curiosity to learn, to grow and develop and share the knowledge with a lot of people around me. So what exactly is health and harmony? What is the need for us to do this? It is all about looking at what is the connect within us and also on the outside. When we take the body, it is not just one body which is there. It is a mandala of different things which are coming together. There is a digestive system, there is a circulatory system, there is a nervous system. There are a lot of things, the bone structure, the muscles. More than that, there is a prana which is moving through us. All of this coming together, making the body a living one. So what is the unit this body is made up of? It is not just the body and the mind or just the bones and the muscles. It is more than that. So when we take the body as example, there is a harmony within all of these components, making us a faculty which comes together and working efficiently. So understanding whether this is inharmonious within and on the outside is what is a Prakriti is all about. The constitution of an individual, also about the universe as such, the higher consciousness. We are not alone. We are a part of something. Here, we have come together as a group, as a community in learning with an intention. So that being the center of the mandala, the heart, from there we progress into who are we? Why is this body? Why this body is in particular shape? Why is the mind and the body are there inside? What is the tandem which is going on? And that is the case, what is the outside connection with us? Am I the environment or I am different from my environment? All these questions have been going on for a long period of time. And this is what we are going to look at today. So how did I understand about all these things? It all started with the dance. The first memory of me is me dancing with my uncle. We have been dancing and dancing. So a dance comes into existence when there is a lot of alignment which happens together with a lot of other factors, like the body, the rhythm which is coming from the music, the beats inside it, the vibrations it makes on the floor in the space around, and also the intention from the dancer and what is the divine's grace which is coming up. All of this comes together as a garland and making us a mandala. And this started slowly and got into the practice of yogasanas and the value education which was given to me right from my beginning years. So when I started going into studying of what is yoga is all about, that is when I started looking at what is the body. Why do I have to do these exercises or the asanas? Why do I have to do all these pranayama? Why do I have to sit in meditation? What is the connecting point between all these things? What is the purpose of doing this? How do these help in my everyday living? And slowly the curiosity built in, and that is when a lot of things started helping me from the outside and also inside as an observation and also as a teaching. In Sanskrit, health is called swastha. In other words, it is called as the harmony. When we say harmony, the mind, the body, and the spirit, though they are different faculties, they all come up together in a right proportion, in a right constitution, bringing up a harmony. How do we understand this harmony? I'm sure a lot of us have been going through, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. I don't know why this is happening. Especially in the body, sometimes we don't know what is going on. We rush to the doctor. We just take some tablets and we just go about it. But little bit of observation helps us in understanding what is the harmony which is going on. Whether our harmony is towards the healing, whether our harmony is towards looking at what is that, or our harmony is towards the pain. If you can see, there is a moderation which is being done towards helping in this harmony. The basic units being food, sleep, exercise. These three differs from season to season, the constitution of the body and the work we do and the requirement of the individual. Because we are all different. Everybody's body constitution is different. Everybody's mental constitution is also very different. When these three go in excess, that is when there is something called ama, the physical and the mental toxins which are being formed. It is simply the imbalance of the basic constitution. There are three abodes of knowledge which was being told in Eastern philosophy: yoga, Ayurveda, and Tantra. When we say yoga, most of us have an understanding of asanas, pranayama, meditation. That's all. If you take Yoga Sutra written by Patanjali, it is a threading of various things put together as a garland. There are a lot of sutras which explain what exactly is yoga. He starts with a simple thing. What is yoga is all about? To have the mind steady is yoga. To make that possible, we deal with the first thing, the gross body. It is also important to understand what is the body is made up of. So that is where the Ayurveda comes in. Ayurveda is a body of science which explains about the constitution of the body and also of the mind. All of us have these doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So these comes out of the 5 great elements, the Panchabhutas. Everything works in a combination within us, each and every individual. So the natural constitution, when it goes for a toss here and there, a disturbance is being made because of certain imbalance which we create by eating, which is not needed, or less eating, or doing which is not required for that particular point of time. That is when one dosha goes up or one dosha comes down and we get into trouble. So sometimes we understand health as, okay, it is about the absence of disease. Health is not about just the absence of disease, but it is the how we harmoniously be there, establishing in the self. So when some disease comes in, it is, we look at, okay, tablet is the right way to go. Go, eat tablet, take some rest, and then rush off to the work. When we take it, I would say differently of actually taking rest, taking a step back. And what is it trying to tell us? In Sanskrit, immunity is called Vyadik Shamatva. It literally means forgiveness of disease. Even in psychology, we call most of the diseases as psychosomatic ones. The body reflects the disturbance of the mind through certain forms of diseases. So when we forgive the disease, that is when we have the ability to adapt to the changes which happens on the inside and also on the outside. And this ability to adapt gives us the freedom and responsibility to live life very healthily. So freedom is all about we being there, the ability to adapt, whatever change might comes, and having an intention with an essence within us to stay in that very steadily. So in yoga, we call it Stiram Shukam Asanam. If you know one thing, take a groundedness in that and keep working towards that without going here and there. And that is our responsibility, which we really need to take on when we really have to have a harmonious life. So when I say about all these things, so what do we eat? How do I know what I eat? The nature outside actually teaches us everything, every single day, every single moment. There is a slight change. Something is happening. Oh, my body is feeling bloated. I don't know why suddenly. I ate the normal one. Beyond that, we don't go. We eat something to, okay, let me take some tablet to get off the bloating. It is very important to understand the changes on the outside because the environment on the outside has a direct reflection on the internal environment. Because we are not different from the environment. We are an extension of the environment. It is just the skin is holding this environment as a body. So it is very important to understand what do we wear, what is the input we take as a food. The food is not just the eating of the food, and what is the input as a mental contamination which is coming in, or a mental input which is coming in. What is the emotion which we are getting into? Are we taking a pause and reflecting on it, or are we just staying there, becoming the emotion? For hunger, there are a lot of sayings, in a lot of rishis have said a lot of things. Very simply, Tirumular has said, Tirumular is a rishi from Tamil Nadu. He has said, Pasitta pin pusi. That means eat only when you are hungry. Till you know what is hunger, do not eat. Till you know what it is, do not take anything inside to keep the environment very clean. The environment being the body, the environment being the mind, the environment being the spirit. Also, he is quoting, where the mind goes, the prana goes. So it is very important to look at where is it going. Prana being the life force. It is not just the breathing, it is a life force. When I say life force, it is an intention which is coming up from within and also the alignment towards the highest consciousness. Agori Vimalananda used to say, when you want to keep the prana moving, keep the bowels moving. Every single day, morning, the bowels have to be cleaned. Keep the body moving. Do dance, do exercises, do anything which moves the body. And keep the breath moving. A steady, consistent, very rhythmic, slow breaths and abdominal breaths. And this has to be keep on going. If you notice, we are not breathing. The breathing happens by itself. We just have to allow it to happen in its own natural rhythm. And by doing all these things every single day, then a rhythm which sets in, and we become one with the circadian rhythm on the outside also. Why are these so important? One such thing I would like to say here is food is what we see as one source of food. It is also a source of prana. For me, food is very, very important because a small little story I would like to say. When I was born, I was a premature baby. I was just 1.25 kgs. So my family members did not know whether I would survive or not. But my grandmother had an intention of no matter what, she is going to live very healthily and in a very prosperous way. From 6 months old baby, she gave me a lot of nutritious food with the millets, by giving me oil massage and taking care of me like anything, giving me prayers, teaching me all these things. So that actually gave a different perspective when I heard it for the first time. I was wondering, why am I a foodie? Foodie as in not like eating a lot, but there is something which is very specific about from the body. It gives a message of, okay, eat this. This is what I need. So that is when I started researching about what is food? Why do I need to eat this? Because when the family is eating that, why is this particular food is being preferred by the family or as a whole in the society? And there is a big connection between the food, the body, the prana, and the community together. When something is coming up on the plate, it is a work of a lot of things. A farmer who has produced that, the soil which has given the nourishment for the plant to grow, the insects and the worms which have helped us in growing that, the source of sun, which is the growth factor or a healing factor, which is a living factor, I would say. And by that, it's coming to a plate which nourishes us to be in a living way. So it is very important for us to look at the food, take the satiation by looking at it, eat with reverence and love. And that way we ensure the environment inside the body becomes very harmonious, both the body and the mind. This actually, the curiosity of knowing about food took me to a different place of the bigger environment. Once we went into an exploration of a different place. We went as a group looking for, okay, let's go hike and trek and see what is happening. And I always wanted to see carrots, cauliflower in production. So we were going to a place called Kodnad. That time, there are a lot of things which were coming into play. What is happening? Oh, this is how they do this. This is how this is grown. How the farmers are taking care of all these things. At one time, we went to this place called Kodnad, which is in the Nilgiris, like 80 kilometers from Coimbatore. And we started going. A dog led us to a valley. And that is when we found Jiva and his farmland. But before going into his farmland, we saw the other farmers who were there spraying pesticides, spraying chemical fertilizers. The moment we entered over there, I just closed my mouth and my nose. It happened naturally. I was in shock. I couldn't breathe. Then I started asking, what is happening? Why this is happening? They said, just for the protection of the vegetables in a big farm, that is what is being preferred by the community. They started spraying all these chemicals and fertilizers. I was so shocked. That was moving inside a lot. That was churning and churning. Oh, this is not right. This is not right. That is what coming. That time, the spirit of that farmland also came inside. I don't know how it came or why it came, but it came. Then my essence, the group's essence, the universe's essence, and the intention all came together. And that is when I started asking, can we do something about this? How can we support you in making go into the natural rhythm? How do we do this? The farmer also had that intention, and all of it aligned together came into one point, the center point, the intention which merged together. And then there started the Coordinate Farm project. We started changing from chemical fertilizers towards the natural fertilizers, using the natural ingredients to have the pesticides, not anything from the outside. The first addition in this project being Papu and Lakshmi, the cow and her calf, which came to the farm. Look at the love she is having for the mother. So they are very important because they started offering us the basic input for the fertilizers, the Panchagavya, the products from the cows, the milk, the ghee which is prepared from the curd, their dung, their urine, everything put together had a perfect combination of Panchagavya. And if you could see, there is a growth serum which we started preparing from the fish wastes. And as you can see, Rasati is a farmer who works in the Coordinate Farm project, and she is using the natural leaves which are fallen off and decomposed in the nearby forest behind, just behind the farmland, and she's preparing the fertilizer and manure. Over a period of time, this all came together. This was running in the farmland, which paved in the result of returning of the earthworms to the land. And that is the first sign of the soil becoming healthy and natural. And after 3-4 months of doing all these things, the harvest has begun. The first one was beans. As you can see, he is Jiva, the farmer who has taken up this project with us. He cultivated 7 types of beans. As you can see, there is a violet beans, which I was so surprised to see in the first time. And there are different things which were also harvested, like coriander, cauliflower, turnip. And this went on, and the second harvest, we cultivated potatoes, carrots. There were mustard, mint, strawberry, spring onion, Trinidad chilies, which were going on. If you can smell it, you can see the difference in what we get it in the shops. And when you go there, you can simply pluck it and you just eat it without, you don't even have to wash, you don't even have to clean the soil. It is so natural, it is so delicious to eat, And it is so good for all the senses also. So, as you can see, it is not just one person's intention. It was a group intention. It was the intention from the land. It was the intention from the environment which came together, all put together, becoming everything one. So we are not definitely different from the environment, and we are the environment. I request you to be very curious about the senses, the hunger, the changes which is happening on the inside, on the outside also. And by being curious, that is when we become aware. When we become aware, we become connected within and on the outside. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shiva. It was such a enriching journey to see this whole mandala being formed. From the core intention till the actual transformation.
Thank you.
We can have a few minutes for asking questions. If anybody has any questions or anything to say, please add it to the chat. I can read it out to Shiva.
Hi, Subbu.
Yeah, Subbu says. Vinita, you can type your question in the chat. I think you've raised your hand. Hey, I have a question.
Yes, Harsh.
When is the next harvest?
In another 3 months.
No, 3.
Yeah, now the carrot harvest is going on. Yeah, the potato has been finished and the carrot is going on. Yes.
Oh,
If anybody is interested, you can contact me. I can tell you where to go, how to contact the
yeah.
farmer, and
There's one question about it. Before that, I think Subbu has a question. Uh, that was quite a presentation. What are the many ways to feel and give self feedback for our harmony?
simple actually. Be there completely with something. Like say, for example, one of my ritual is uh, when before eating food, what do I do is put all the things in the plate, keep it there. First, give the gratitude, the prayer for the person who have prepared it and for the divine to give it. And I take 5 minutes to see what are the colors which are in my plate and take it in completely, get satiated with it. And then I smell it. I close my eyes. I just smell it, take it in completely, take it in completely, take it in completely. Only then I start eating. So being in the here and now, becoming one with whatever we are doing as a feedback by itself for the harmony. I hope I understand. I hope I gave you the answer, Subbu. Okay, thank you.
Santosh says, Hi Shivapriya. Thanks for the wonderful presentation of how to maintain harmony.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Deepa says, I loved what you shared, Shiva. Health is how we establish in ourselves. That was profound for me to contemplate. I want to join you all the next time.
Thank you, Deepa.
Subbu says, Yes, sure, I would be interested. Valarmati Srinivasan says, Hi Shiva, your grandmother contribution from transforming you from that baby was so nice.
Thank you, Valarmati. I will definitely
Santosh
tell that to
Kumar.
my grandmother.
Santosh Kumar says, My question is how to identify and start to balance harmony.
Yeah. It comes from the observation. Take a step back and watch the body, watch the mind. Just watch like a movie what is going on first. So that actually takes time to pause, see, observe, contemplate, reflect. And when this happens, a harmony comes in naturally. Santosh, I hope I answered your question.
We have Abhirami saying, Shiva, your presentation made me craving for millet porridge with onions and curd with some kondatums. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was a beautiful layout of how to just be.
Thank you, Raman.
Vinita says, Congratulations, Shiva, and thanks for this share. Just how beautifully Shivapriya brought out all these connections: body, mind, intention, group, people, environment, existence, all in harmony. Such a living mandala.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinita.
Nayanika says, Absolutely wonderful and rich presentation. Thank you, Shiva, for connecting the dots between the internal and the external.
Thank you, Narika.
That was a wonderful presentation and felt so thrilling to hear your experience, Shiva. Thanks a lot. I have one doubt. As the product now that is produced is free from pesticides, now that how is the pests and insects are now controlled in the farm? As these creatures also will be attracted to the produce like we do. This is Anita.
Yeah. Anita, there are a lot of natural pesticides are also being done. For example, we in our farm, in coconut farm, we use neem oil, garlic, and chilies to make the pest control. That is one. And also, there are specific plants which are like weeds, which attracts these pesticides, which are being put in between the plants so that they don't go into the harvest. So there is a clear segregation of what can be given and what not to be given, and also how to limit this with the natural input from the forest and things like that. Okay, thanks, Anita.
Right from the start to end, the connection from the divine to the inside us, with the environment being us and we aren't different from them, was an inside out, also an outside in Mandala Shiva. Multiple things are rising up inside, like the churn which happened in you. The talk raised in me as well, says Dharani.
Wonderful, Dharani. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shiva, this was such a great reminder of the importance of moderation to maintain harmony in our body. In today's world of finding so much random info on the internet and just popping pills, it is nice to remember that we can listen to the body, the nature around us, and the environment to see what is it we actually need. Thank you, Shiva. This is Divya.
Thank you, Dharani. Thank you.
Hi Shiva, Disha here. Thanks for sharing the knowledge, says Disha. Jiva just called me now. He is coming for the Mandala Festival to hear the bhajans of Pavitram. You can meet him directly at the festival venue at Chinmaya. Says Prasad for everyone. Thanks, Shiva, says Prasad. The presentation was beautifully articulated. I really enjoyed connecting with this knowledge. A lot of goosebumps moment and a realization came up while observing. Thank you, Shiva.
Thank you, Hari.
This is Hari. Thank you for very precise presentation, says Dhruti Shah.
Thank you, Vikram.
Hi Shiva, I was listening to your presentation right after I had a very healthy dinner of an ice cream cone. I loved how you maintained a very calm rhythm all throughout. It was a pleasure listening to you and gaining knowledge from you, says Kokila.
Thank you, Vikram.
Hello Shiva, amazing presentation. It's been difficult to understand the health for me. Your presentation gave me, in most simplest way possible, to understand and practice ingredients needed for good health. It made me aware, smile within, that I can carry forward throughout my life and try to practice every single day, every moment. Sadhana for body made very simple for me. Thanks a ton, says Bhavisha.
Thank you, Bhavisha.
I have one question. In this fast moving world, sleep, food, and work are totally unbalanced. Could you please tell me what can be done to find balance and have a healthy life?
Oh,
Question by Disha.
okay. So when you say the world is moving fast, so what are you doing? Whether are you moving along with it or what is your intention towards it? So maybe that intention might help you find the balance inside Disha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see Disha. Hi Shiva. Thank you so much. Felt a strong need to listen to what happens within even more and to be mindful of harmony. Felt like perception has been widened. Very insightful, says Arvind.
Thanks, Arvind.
Beautiful presentation, Shiva. The way you put out the various factors for harmony within and outside was precise, simple, and whole. Loved it the way you presented Vyadhishamatva.
Vyadikshamatva.
Wonderful, Shiva.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you, which is coming from
This
you.
is Rama.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So, Shiva, how can we get in touch with you for this? How, if someone wants to take this forward, how can they reach out to you? And for more questions, because I see a lot of questions coming in the chat.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have a routine. We actually need to have a routine in our life to take a time to pause and reflect, as I mentioned before. We don't understand the body as such. Only when we move in certain ways, when we just sit in certain ways, we understand whether this muscle is working or not, and how the body is reacting to it as a whole, and also how the mind is reacting to it as a whole. I've been running this routine called Abhyasa, and it is a tailor-made one according to the individual constitution of the body, and the background of it goes in a different way, so that it is given in such a way that the person works on it, reflects on it, and comes back with the observation. And from there, we take it forward. So it is not just the classical asanas which we do, but I also induct the working of the mind. And this routine goes for quite some time, actually. So anybody who would like to connect with me, you can get my number. I'll tap it on the chat. You can write to me also in the mail, and we can connect. And regarding forming also, if you're interested, yes, tomorrow Jiva is coming. You can actually ask questions to him directly also. No worries. This routine called Abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice. When there is a consistency in the practice, we get a groundedness, a steadiness in the life. And that is the crux of this routine is all about, and that is the essence of this routine. Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
Shiva.
thank
We'll
you.
share. We'll be able to share how people can connect with you on the Mandala Festival WhatsApp group. Maybe on the website we can publish it.
Oh, sure, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Shiva.
Thank you.
For
Thank you,
me,
Nish.
it was a very strong reminder to go into the various aspects of nourishment and what the mind speaks through the body. So thank you for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So moving to the next phase of our celebration, one very wonderful and important point that Shiva also spoke about in the presentation was about how self-development is also involvement of development of the external and the internal. And almost a lot of people on this call are on that journey. One such journey has come in the form of a beautiful poem. We today have with us Divya. Divya loves going on adventures and exploring new things and places. Her newest exploration has been towards finding a rhythm in her sadhana practice every day, using journaling and meditation. Right now, in her journey, she sees mandala as a depiction of clarity and order. The unlimited potential of a mandala to expand and grow infinitely while holding the same power all the way down at the center. In the bindu is what fascinates her most about them. So we have her with us today, sharing with us a poetry that describes her journey. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harsh. Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to present to you a poem um, that depicts my journey um, with Pavitra, with my mandalas. And I also did a switch program recently, and this is also about the journey I had over there. It was a bright, sunny morning. I was on the verge of a journey unseen. I had heard others' silent whispers of joy, but never what they saw or where they had been. With feet skipping in excitement, all my things packed in a bundle, I set off on the path that will take me into the magic jungle. Just as I entered the woods, I heard a rhythmic rustle. I looked to my sides. There were more like me on this hustle. Forwards we go, gazing up at the leaves. The sky turns sparkly. There's movement up in the leaves. Suddenly, something jumps up in front of me. Shocked, I take a step back. Greetings! I shall be your friend and guide here in the woods, says the smiling gnome. I relax, no need to attack. The forest welcomes you with open arms, he said. But to start off, you must tell us about yourself. What are the things we ought to know about you? How much in the light is yourself? Eager to move forward, happy I found a friend. I describe my life, likes and dislikes, totally unaware that all this might change by the end. As we continue to walk into the jungle, The gnome started a game of polarities. Each time I peeled off a layer and saw the light, there was something in the shadows, stuff that no one usually sees. Shadows in the jungle where darkness lurks. When unseen and misunderstood, it creates havoc and finds its perks. As I walk the rocky surface of the jungle, mindful with each step where I keep my foot, I find stones turning everywhere and the stray slithering root. A little way in, I find the tree of freedom, full of life and adorned with golden leaves. She asks me if I can climb her to the top. Not many can do it, she believes. I feel a desire pop in, pushing me to climb the tree. I wonder whether I should act on it. But wait, aren't desires what keep me from feeling free? The tree of freedom smiles gently, reaching her branch out to me. She says, let your strength help you rise above. May your mind set you free. It's time to move on, said the gnome, my friend. We are headed to the land of rainbows, the next stop on your journey home. Soon enough, I see the landscape change, earth in every color, texture, and smell. Beautiful striations, all a part of one huge painting. This will be an adventure, I could tell. I step on orange, red, and green. I thought I was going crazy. Each color brought me images, each felt like an explosion. Never having fully understood, always assuming I knew. Now, not naming what I was feeling, it was like learning the emotions anew. Of all the colors I saw in front of me, one of them stood out, a glow. Love was what I called its name, but now it was time to know. As I stepped on it, I sank under into an ocean of blue and I was filled with wonder. A voice boomed in, I'm unconditional. I am forever. I'm there with you no matter what, and you will lose me never. When I awoke, I was ashore. I looked around to find my bearings. What was next to explore? 5 figures sat around me in a circle. They all looked like me, I realized. Hmm. One was weak, one was a monster, one was healthy, one was wore a dark cloak, and one needed to be hospitalized. Hmm. Each of them had a story to tell. They all had my powers and abilities. They each used them differently. Some turned them productive and some turned them into liabilities. The gnome creeped up from behind me. He said, they are all a version of you. You can decide how to wield your powers so you can live your life healthy and true. As the gnome led me away, I saw the mountains coming. My heart leapt with joy, and towards them I went running. At the foothills, I stopped to drink in the view. At the top, a girl dressed in red. But wait, she looked like me too. Confused, I looked at the gnome for help. He said, that is you 15 years from today. Recognize your journey to the top. It will help you from going astray. One step in front of the other, you will face challenges along the way. Keep your eyes on the girl and the red dress. It will help you to not sway. She is the home you set out to reach, the one you work every day to be. Watch her dance easily with the wind, as much in light as can be. Back in the forest, I saw the light. The path continues on, I saw with delight. My journey in the magic jungle had come to an end. This new version of me I now befriend. It was good to have you here, the gnome says as he waves goodbye. Safe travels and happy trails to you, he said, and flew away like a butterfly. Thank you so much, everyone, for letting me share my journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. It is such a colorful journey and so meaningful at the same time. I can still see the tree. I can still see the colorful spots. I can still see how removing names from emotions is learning them anew and the realignment of abilities. Thank you for putting it so beautifully and so enigmatically.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you.
We have people. Uh, Please share your words for Divya on chat. Beautiful. So much of imagery in your work. You weave magic. Well done, Divya, says Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad.
I love the words you chose to paint your scene. You took me on a journey despite the screen, says Abhirami.
Thank you, Abhi.
Brilliant and wonderful. I could visualize the tree, the colors, the light, and your journey, says Arya.
Thank you so much, Arya.
Wonderful presentation, Divya, says Ruby.
Thank you, Ma.
Hi, Divya. Once a fangirl, always a fangirl. Felt like I was watching Dragon Tales if Zack and Wheezy suddenly got hit with spiritual awakening. Your eyes speak a ton. Your recitation was adorable. The storyline was vivid and I loved how meaningful it was. Without complications. Beauty in simplicity. Love and love to you. That was Kokila.
Thank you, Kokila.
Such a beautiful and courageous journey. Through and through. It felt like a painting, says Vinita.
Thank you, Vinita.
I loved it when the gnome said, "This is the journey towards your home." Loved it very much, Divya, says Shiva.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you.
Seeing your involvement in expressing your poem just made the images in my head come to life. Thank you for such a joyful tone and the subtle references to your contemplation. It was like a journey inside your mind and mine at the same time. Thank you, says Aditya.
Thank you, Aditya.
Felt like a journey home. Thanks for writing, sharing, and performing this. You were amazing, Divi, says Anvita and Disha. This
Thank
one
you,
was
Anvita.
Anvita.
Thank you, Disha. Thank you, Anvita.
Audio with visual story. Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you, says Vishnu.
Thank you, Vishnu.
That was a lovely expression, Divya. So colorful and lively. Not only the poetry, but you too. Thank you for sharing it with us, says Anita.
Thank you, Anita.
The words, the movements, the charm you put in. Lots of loves and hugs for sharing your journey. Also taking me with your vision there, says Dharani.
Thank you, Daddy. Hugs.
Thank you so much, Divya, for composing this poem. I watched the movie through your visuals, expressions, and words. This is like the whole class compressed in a clip. It is lovely, like you, says Bhagyashri.
Thank you, Bhagya.
felt a child in your voice. Very expressive, says Disha.
Thank you, Disha.
The poetry and the recitation was just so you. Thanks for being you and sharing this journey, says Sudarshan.
Thank you, Sudarshan.
Wow, Divya, you took me on journey which reminded me of Harry Potter and the Hobbits. It took me to the journey towards the highest, and it started with the adventure, then doubts, then desires, then shadows, then polarities. And I was happy hearing that guide was there to guide towards freedom and how journey can be continued with lots of hope, strength. I could clearly see it within me, happening with your voice and expressions too. Thanks a lot, Ms. Bhavisha.
Thank you, Bhavisha. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Divya. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harsh.
For this one. Thanks, Divya, for the beautiful poetry of your journey and inspiration for enabling the poet inside me. That was Santosh.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Santosh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Divya.
Thank you so much, Harsh.
So, moving forward, celebration requires a lot of design. You know, you have Rangoli design, but there is another aspect,
Gavariya,
another dimension to
being
design.
Gavariya.
Everybody knows about Apple. Everybody speaks about design. But what is design? We have today with us Aditya. Aditya is a self-taught product designer who left behind his management education and career to explore the world of design. Aditya has been designing software applications and products for almost 2 years. He is passionate about using designs as a problem solving method and is currently working on solving problems in the healthcare industry. But today he is here with us to speak about integrating design process into everyday life. I welcome you, Aditya, to take forward us on your journey.
Aditya got dropped. He'll rejoin in a minute.
You
Yeah,
Hello.
while we have Aditya, yeah, we have Aditya back. Yeah, over to you, Aditya.
Yeah, sorry about. Okay. Yeah, I'll just take a moment to share my screen. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you, Harsh, for a great summary of the introduction for this. So I'll just be very quick in introducing this. So, what is the purpose of why I'm here today and why I want to talk to you about design? Primarily because I feel there is a lot of awareness that I would like to create about the term design and what revolves around it and the meaning around it. Because my intention is that once you really understand it, we will start to see how it can empower a lot of new possibilities that maybe went a little bit more passive previous. And by seeing these new possibilities, there is a lot of scope to create a lot of positive change in the things that surround us and the objects that we have in our lives. So let me get back to the crux of it. So before we get into what the design process, I want to clarify on what is design. So a lot of times, whenever this question comes up, there's a tendency to think something like this, which is, oh wow, look at that car, it has an amazing design. Look at that vase, it's like, has so many intricate patterns, it has so much detailing done on it. Or look at that mehendi, like I went to this wedding and this person made an amazing, drawing on my hand, an amazing sketch on my hand. And so on and so forth. We see it on t-shirts, we see it in kaleidoscopes. But what all of this is just referring to one aspect of it, which is what we see, which is what we're able to visually perceive. But there is an aspect of design that goes much further than this. So I'll come back to it again. What is design? If what we see is just the surface, design is more than that. It is in a very intentional act of creating something. It's to bring into existence something that is very true, and to give it a physical form. So I'll explain as we go further. So what we see at the visual level is just what we refer to as form, which is how something looks, just what is the form that something holds. But there is a deeper aspect to design, which is called the function, which is something that we can really feel when we use things around us. For example, there is a tumbler around me. So I can see only the metal and the carving on the top, and and the pattern on the outside. But there's something called a function, which it helps me to actually drink something, helps me to contain something. So these are things we feel when we look at objects around us, but we don't necessarily actively perceive. And there is another layer which goes much deeper than this as well, which is the intent. For me, this is a really important part of anything that we have as objects around us.
Hello. Yeah, I think Aditya is joining back. Let's just wait 2 minutes. So we can take a 10-minute break and then join back. At that point, we can go ahead with Aditya's presentation. So it is 8:13 now. We will join back at 8:23.
Aditya,
We'll go ahead with that. Aditya, do you want to go ahead now or after?
I'll go ahead now.
Yeah, okay. We'll continue. We'll take the break after. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Just give me a second to share my screen. Harsh, can we take it after the break? I think there is some technical.
Sure. Then let's take a break. We'll take 8:14 now. 8:24 we'll be back.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to Mandala Festival. So we move ahead after we have rested a little. But before we go ahead, before Aditya starts presenting, I request those of you who can, please come on video. Thank you. Aditya, all yours. Take it forward.
Hey, thanks, Harsh. Right. So I'll just take a few moments to quickly go through again what we had just started with. So again, the main purpose of this presentation is to create awareness about design, because there's not a lot of clarity on what the whole true meaning of design is. And what I hope to achieve is that by bringing this clarity to you, that you can start to envision new possibilities and start creating positive change in the objects that we surround ourselves with. So what is design? So normally when we look at design, a lot of these kind of pictures may come to mind, which is something that looks really good, or something that we really are invoked by looking at it. So it is a visual perception that we have. I look at something, oh wow, this is amazing. This is amazing design. And that is design. That is design. But there is a deeper aspect to design. What we see is normally just the form, which is what we see is at the top layer, which are things that are visually visible to us. But there are much more deeper aspects to design, which is, and it is an intentional act of creation. So design is not something that is an adjective, which is to describe how something looks, but it is really a verb, which means to do something. So design is to do. It is an act of creation. So what we see on the surface there is the form, which is basically what we can visually perceive. And then there is the function, which is what it enables us to do. It helps enable us to do something using that form. And finally, there is intent. At the deepest level, there is intent, which helps justify the existence of that very object that lies around us. So I'll dive a little bit deeper into this whole structure by going into the design process. So what is the design process? If design is not just the form, it also has function and intent. How does all this integrate with each other? How do all these things play with each other in a way that makes sense for us, right? This is where the design process really comes into play. So for me, a design process is really a mandala through which we can expand into the physical dimension. We interact with things every day. We see objects around us every day. But what we see is not what all that is around us. There is something more to be perceived. There is something more to be felt. So at the center of the mandala is the intent. This is what justifies everything about an object that lies around us, justifies its very existence. Now, how do I go from just an intent to seeing the final product that I have in my hands? Well, once we have an intent, you really connect with it. You really try to understand, okay, where is this intent coming from? What is this intent all about? Why am I suddenly connecting to this as an intent? To create something, to free something, to help somebody. Why is this suddenly coming out of me? You really connect with it. And through that connection, we try to create. You don't question what is being created. You just create. And this is where the aspect of human intuition really starts playing up. Because there's a certain connection that enables us to channelize what we intend into creating something that we can see. And so we just follow that flow, that harmony that comes with it, and we just create. We just draw, we sketch, we model, we prototype, and then finally we correct. This is intentionally done as a separate step so that it doesn't hinder with the creation process. There is an intent that we want to align with, and there is something that we are creating, but we never mix the process of creation with correction, because they are ideally two different structures that follow two different mindsets. And so in the final stage, we look at, okay, I've created something. Does it really align with what I wanted to do in the first place? Or does it really align with what I felt? Does it really align with what I want to show to the world or show to this universe? And so then once I correct, I do this over and over again. I connect again with the intent, then I again create, and then I again correct. And I do this over and over again in cycles until finally I have something that I can really offer to the world around. And so through this process, what happens once we go through this process multiple times is that we start to see a vision around the intent. It's no longer just an intent. It's about how can I really create something out there that changes the way something exists that already exists, or how can I really, really help create some benefit to this society, to this world, and to the community as a whole. And that's what we see as the outer circle, the vision. Over time, what happens is we stop consciously thinking about connecting, creating, correcting, and we just hold an intent. We hold until we realize that final vision that we have. And when this vision of the universe is where this thing starts to exist in infiniteness, it just starts to exist over time, over generations, over millennia, centuries. And it starts to take on an eternal existence. So at this point, I just want to take a brief moment and tell you a very, very short story. So this story is about a person named Peter. He was born in Germany around 1486. And there was not a lot to do at the time. And so he got into the practice of making locks. He became a locksmith. And he started perfecting his craft. He really learned a lot. One day he got into a bar brawl with one of his friends. And being one of the accused person who was in the fight, he was sent to, he was given asylum in a missionary, in a Catholic missionary church. Now, this moment in time was really important to him because he spent a lot of time with himself. He spent a lot of time perfecting the craft of being a locksmith. And he made one of the best inventions in the world. Today, without which today we really cannot survive. And I want to show you what this looks like. It's this. So in 1505, he came up with this. This may not make sense because, okay, I don't know what this is. What is this weird circular looking object? It has so many, holes and contours and lines. But if I show you a modern interpretation of the same object today, it's this. It's the watch. So in 1505, he created the watch, which was worn more as an ornament. And today we have the Apple Watch Ultra, which is the latest. Today the watch is a computer. So the biggest thing I want to show you through this story is that when we hold an intent and when we create, the form can change, what you see today as a smartphone, tomorrow could be a chip in your hand. What we see today as a watch, which is worn as an ornament around the neck, can now be worn on the wrist with a computer in it. And so through these objects that we create, the objects that we connect with every day, we are infinitely extending our existence through time, through generations, through millennia, through centuries. So what is the final takeaway from this? What I want to share with you today is that design is not just what we see. We consume things so passively that it becomes very hard to really understand how this a certain object came to be. What we see today around us as objects is just a certain form at a certain point in time. But when we start looking at things around us as a story, as things we connect with as a story, just take up anything. I take up my wallet. Okay, this is not just a wallet. This does something. It helps me it enables me to do something. So take like the smallest objects around you and just ponder over, what does this help me do? And how is this really contributed to my life? How has this really helped me? And try to learn more about the object, about its history, about its past, about what materials are used on it, about what's there on the form that you see. And slowly you'll start to see the function arising out of that. Then when you really think about the function, okay, it helps me store money. Where in the past have people gone to store their money and be able to take it around? And you see that the answers to these questions become different based on the point in time in which you are existing. And so the most beautiful thing about design is that it's infinite, and that we can create things around us that last eternally. Yeah, so I would like to open up the forum for any questions that people may have, because I intended the presentation to be in a certain format, and I hope that I can answer all the questions that come my way.
That was a really good connection, Aditya, from design being the intent of the creator to help through its creation. Thank you for sharing that perspective with such finesse and to the pointedness. I request whoever wants to say anything to Aditya for the presentation, you can use the chat window to share. Okay, Aditya is rejoining, but feel free to add your comments so that once he is back, we can read it out to him. Yeah, Aditya, we can go with the appreciations, and then
Sure.
questions we can share offline, perhaps through another channel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Aditya. That was quite a fine presentation and ideas. Definitely inspired few takeaways. How do you verify along the way if the intent is being really worked on and satisfied? There is a question in this from Subbu.
Okay. Can I go ahead and answer that, Harsh?
Yeah, please go.
Okay. Thank you, Subbu. So there is a strong connect that is evoked when there is an intent, and when I create something, I look at, is this really, am I really connecting with it in the same manner that it invoked something in me? It's a very subjective thing. It really goes down to how well you sense it and feel it. But to a great extent, it's really about trying to see, okay, this is really what I wanted to create. Does this really satisfy the intent that was invoked inside? And I think it starts with a bunch of questions that you then answer and see if the answers then make sense to you. Then you correct it based on it or not.
Yeah, there's more. Hi Aditya, thanks for sharing this perspective on design. Don't look at the form, be curious about the product. I have been, in essence, a creator, and I strongly take away the intention to connect to the intent so strongly that the creation happens as a flow, says Deepa. Thanks, Aditya, for changing the perception to see the design from the source to creation. Thanks for the opportunity to learn. That was Santosh. A crisp and on-point presentation of how an intent travels across various timelines. Also a great take on evolution itself. Wonderfully put. Really reflects your contemplation on design. This is Anvita and Disha. Such a simple and comprehensive share about design, which to me felt like a very complicated subject. I always felt design is not for me. I now feel yes, design is the part of my life. Thank you so much, Aditya. It shows how passionate and skilled you are about it. That was Vinita. Got a lot of clarity with the creation process from what you said, Aditya. Felt simple, powerful, and relatable. Got a strong connect to the intent, connect, creation, correction process. That was Arvind. Hi, Aditya. I loved how you made the connection of design and just the holistic way of life. A lot of subject matter representations can be interpreted as such, and it makes it so much more beautiful. Thank you for your intellectual and thought provoking insights. That was Kokila. Hi Aditya. Presentation was clear and precise. Importance of intention for every creation, though it may be small or large. Thank you, Aditya. That was Harita. Thanks for showing the different layers of design and demonstrating the permanence of a design. That was Sudarshan. Intent based design was very informative. Thank you so much. It was Vishnu. Hi Aditya, thanks for bringing such an emphasis on intent behind any design. It has really increased the value of being connected with it throughout the process. I can relate it with storytelling and creation of anything at all very well. That was Shresht. Wow, thanks for the wonderful presentation. You've opened a new perspective for me. I'm able to see design and its connect in multiple aspects. It also takes to deeper, subtler reflection. Your presentation was simple yet powerful. That was Rama. Subbu wants to know how he can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I will leave my mobile number with Harsh. You can contact me.
We can share like email ID or something.
Huh, yeah.
Can you share your phone number and email ID here, Aditya? That was Prasad. Maybe on chat. Hi Aditya, loved learning about the part of design under the iceberg. Also the part where design can expand into unimaginable products in the future. Thank you for opening our eyes, Aditya. That was Divya. Thank you so much, Aditya. It was really insightful, even with all the glitches. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We move ahead now to the next phase of the Mandala Festival celebrations. Where did we hear the word festivals? School? Home? A lot of it happened at home. We have today with us Vinita, who will be speaking about organic learning from life, not really homeschooling. Vinita Sood is a lifelong learner, listening to life, allowing it to guide through the journey. She is a mother of two sons who are young adults now, following their passions and charting their own paths. She and her husband decided not to send their children to school when they were small. They decided to grow and learn together with them as a family. Based on the needs of the children and the needs of life, her children have transitioned between unschooling and homeschooling, along with alternate schooling for a couple of years in between. Her focus during those years has been on creating a space for children where they could stay in touch with their own essence as they engage with family, friends, and surroundings and life. She presently supports unschooling slash homeschooling families or the ones who want to step out of mainstream education system. She also supports young adults who want to pursue their dreams outside of mainstream education and work culture. She's an author and a therapeutic counselor and has been supporting people through pandemic. She has been exploring mandalas for the past 2 years and finds a lot of resonance between the practice of drawing mandalas and the mandalas that unfold, and evolve in life. Over to you, Vinita.
Thank you, Harsh. Always when someone gives that introduction, that doesn't feel like it's about me. It goes like, thank you for a beautiful introduction. Yeah. So first of all, I'm really grateful to Pavitram and to Prasad and to all these people who are organizing this festival for having me here and giving me this opportunity to share the mandala of life that I have experienced. This sharing is about what life taught me as a parent and as an educator while I engaged with parenting and educating my children. And bigger than that, what life taught me about myself and about life itself. So I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm going to share about homeschooling, which as per me has been an experience about organic learning from life. And it is about the life choices we make that impact us and our children every moment of our life. So because I'm going to talk about homeschooling, so what is homeschooling? Homeschooling, many of you might have heard about it. If I have to very simply explain it, this is basically saying, when parents decide to decide to stop sending their children to school and give them a formal education at home as per their own beliefs and their own philosophy, they call this is homeschooling. Why people homeschool? Homeschooling has been existing in this world, like I'm not going back into the ancient times when there were no schools and all the learning happened at home. But More recently, when parents wanted to bring up and educate their children as per their own beliefs and philosophy, as I shared earlier, they started homeschooling. And during pandemic, what we saw all over the world, children were at home. The school was guiding the learning, and unwittingly parents became a partner with the school for the education of their children. And we heard this word homeschooling much more often during pandemic. Earlier, there were a few families here and there, and always the name homeschooling brought like a surprise on people's face that how come someone is not going to school. Post pandemic, what has happened is that people have realized the pressure, just the pressure of the system, even if they're doing the same thing, they have realized the pressure of the system, and many parents are either moving towards homeschooling or at least wanting to move towards homeschooling. What do people do when they homeschool? There are various kinds of homeschooling. The simplest form is when people bring school home, which means they stop sending their children to school, but they do everything that a child will do at school. They do it at home. They follow the routines, they follow the curriculum, they follow whatever the child is supposed to learn at a given stage. Then there are families. This is very family specific. Parents' belief system, what works with the child. And some families, what they do is that they follow the child's interest with milestones in their mind, and they become partners in the child's journey. There's something called unschooling, where there is no structure, no expectations. Children on their own, within the safety of home, they learn and they find their own way. Then there are some families who travel extensively, and most of the learning happens through travel. And there is a name called road schooling, farm schooling, where families spend lots of time at the farm and they learn through farming, then exploring arts, craft, music, etc. So a lot of that, through whatever modality suits the family, they go through learning from that. And if you look at this picture, there is something which I describe as organic learning from life, which means it's going as per the flow of life, perceiving, receiving, responding, learning from the choices we make and where our choices lead us, in whatever modality we use. And whatever modality we use, we provide, we nurture, we provide conditions within which that modality can become a means of learning. Then why am I so passionate about organic learning? So I'll just share a few things here. We are a sum total of our life experiences, and being present to our life experiences gives us a way to live. I'm going to share a few of my experiences. One is my experience of being a student. So if I was a very poor student till the age of 10, 11 years of my age, not because I was dumb, and no child and no human being is dumb. It was because I was interested in so many things, and academics was the last priority on my mind. Most of all, I was interested in play. I was the eldest. I was helping my parents at home. I was also the eldest, so helping my siblings, and play was my main engagement. The demands of academic system felt very restrictive, and the way they were implemented felt punitive. My brother, I've grown up with a brother who was a specially able child. He was born with Down syndrome. And growing up with him, I learned so much. I learned the meaning of freedom. And when I say freedom, most important of that is a place to say no. Then, acceptance, empathy, compassion. I learned all these things from him. The importance of pausing, the importance of listening, the importance of being present. All these are gifts my brother gave to me. The communication. What is empowering in the communication? What is disempowering in the communication? And I always say that my brother was my first spiritual guru. Then came my children. You know how children are, these independent, curious beings. They are explorers. Their authenticity and spontaneity was so inspiring for me. The thought of boxing them and waiting for instructions from someone else in a classroom situation felt very stifling. The thought of it felt very stifling for me. On top of that, I had my own questions. Some of the questions are like, what kind of interactions lead to what kind of relationships? How do children develop healthy attitudes for life? What do children need to blossom in life? What happens when learning is imposed, and what happens when learning is exploratory and comes from within the child? What kind of learning conditions empower children? What is the cause and effect of the styles of parenting and education? What we intend children to learn and what they actually learn. Like we might do something with a certain intention, but children might perceive it very, very differently. And my conviction about organic learning came from my experience with my children. Often I found there was a clash between my motivations and my desires with that of my children. I mean, I came with an agenda that the day should unfold in a certain way, what they should do, when they should do it, how they should do it. All of that clashed with the needs of my own children, their motivations and their desires. And that conflict was very, there was a lot of unrest for me internally when I experienced that conflict. My own conditioning and how the environment impacted me. We all are a product of a system, and what they should do, I was saying all the things in the first point, all of that was my part of my conditioning, and which brought in conflict. And then the impact of the environment. When you take such a big step of not sending your children to school, what happened for me is a need to prove that sitting at home is not a frivolous job. So what that meant, that translated into my children must produce some work and written work every day. Conversations, explorations, walks, collections have no meaning. Written word should be produced so that I can show to my parents, my friends, who question, what are you doing? You're spoiling your child's life. But very soon I realized, no, that's not where I want to go. That's my problem. That's not my children's problem. So that was very helpful. And in the process, I very soon realized that children are like seeds with so much of potential within them. And if we put children at the center, as parents or as educators, something very different happens. And what do we need to do for that? How do we create life conditions that enable them to blossom fully? So the whole emphasis was on what do I do, which helps them grow up into their full being. So let's have a look at child as a seed and the conditions of growing. So if we protect and care, nature takes care of growth for all of life. And nature has a trust and rhythm of growth. It has open horizons. If we look at these visuals, we see that a seed growing into a plant after being watered, and the sunlight, the air, the open space is available. We see all these stages. And if we look at the second image by its side, the seed is sown in the soil. And from the first two images in the first image, from the seed to the sapling, there are so many stages in between. How the conditions is that the soil should be loose, it should be adequately watered, there should be sunlight, there should be place to grow. And then there are so many stages from the seed to the sapling itself. And we often miss that in human growth. We are in such a hurry that we want to see them spurting into growth from one stage to another. We lose sight of these mini steps in their growth. So why are we humans in such a hurry for our babies to grow up so fast? We, the human beings, are the only species which want to accelerate their growth, and in order to prepare our children for life, we restrict their horizons. If we look at this, the growth of a human baby, we all know as parents, when the child is beginning to play, we say when the child will roll over. When the child rolls over, we say when the child will start crawling. And then when the child will sit, walk, run. So we don't enjoy each and every moment of the child's growth and development. We are always a step ahead, almost trying to pull the child from that stage to this stage, which we can never, ever, even in our wildest dreams, think of doing it to plants or to animals. So somewhere we are the only people, living beings, who do this. There's the law of nature about growth and development, where it's about creating conditions for growth and let the nature do its work. Are we ready for that? Yes, we are different from all the other existing life forms, yet conditions of blossoming and flowering are inherent in all of life. How we take into account this factor when we are parenting and educating our children? When a child is born, the innate nature of the child helps the child engage, and the conditions we create enable and empower them to grow into who they are. And this is when we fully trust nature for its work for growth and development. And when we are growing up with our children, we have two options. We can connect to the child and become a partner in the child's growth, which we facilitate and hold space, and the child figures out things within that. And when we do that, this is what happens. There is such a vast space for growth available, so much of joy, so much of experimentation, so much of initiative, curiosity, all of those things if we take that stance. The other stance we can take is bring in our own agendas, impose and lead as per our own agenda for the child. And when we do that, this is what happens. Because there are so many people, parent, a child, the system, the society, all of us are imposing our expectations on the child. The child feels very lost and very, the child can feel sad, angry, withdrawn, resisting. So many reactions that can come from the child depending on the child's personality. But the child feels really lost and really locked within himself or herself. So what are the conditions that promote empowering growth and learning? So one of the things is that it is really not so much about what we do, but how we do what we do. So what happens here? We want our children to grow into sensitive and sensible people. We want them to listen. We want them to be compassionate human beings. We want them to respect and accept everything around us. And what happens is, are we giving all these things to our children? How do children receive these things? We need to create freedom to choose, explore, and express. Free play has a huge role to play. And nurture and structure is very, very important. How we nurture the child, how we structure the environment which supports the empowering growth, permissions, opportunities, and inspiring environment and inspiring people around them, which allow the child to use the inspiration to explore and grow. All these things are very important. These are the things which make the child experience what we want the child to become. When we model, children absorb. Whatever space we operate from, the child is picking up the tools for life, attitudes, values, and beliefs the child is picking up. For example, if we, when the child doesn't say pranam to a guest who comes home, we scold the child, you should be respectful. So what's happening here? Are we respecting the child? We are not. The child is not experiencing that respect. And when we shout, we are also telling the child that shouting is a means to solve the problem and meet your needs. This is something, these are from where the child picks up attitudes, values, and beliefs. And this also brings in resistance or flow. So when we really be present to the child, we create a flow in life. And when we want to pull the child into next phase of development, the child feels a lot of resistance. There is a self-organizing principle of life, which Aditya spoke about, which Shiva Priya spoke about, that how things just organize themselves. The same thing happens in our own growth. On day-to-day basis, things get organized. In our life, the things get organized when things appear when there is a need for that. Life keeps organizing itself very beautifully. But it's not easy. So what are our challenges as parents? Can you see this image? This is the image where this virtual reality game, the lady is wearing these glasses, which is about virtual reality game. And very often we operate from our conditioning and we are not even aware, and it's like being in this kind of a virtual reality game. We see what our conditioning shows us. We don't see what's actually happening. We don't see our children. We see our idea of our children. We don't see how we are behaving with children. We see our idea of how we are behaving. And that is like we are in a perpetual virtual reality game in life. We are all carrying emotions from our own experiences as children. When children need something we haven't got in the process of growing up, we cannot give that to them. We feel incapable and we feel our children are making us angry. They are being difficult. We think only if they did what we feel is right for them. Like we just really wish it. And this happens because we believe we know. How do we meet our challenges? We need to be present to our own conditioning, both inner and outer dynamics, what's happening within us and what's happening in the relational space for ourselves and for our children. What's happening with children and what's happening for children in their relationship with us. It's very important. Can we stay with the unknown, the unfamiliar, holding trust in the nature's capacity for life and growth? And this is very difficult because we are so conditioned. We feel we have to make things move, which we have to. I'm not saying that we just sit, but can we move with this kind of trust in nature? So what it takes to meet these challenges? Being a parent is a call for growing up again with our children, our conditioning, and what the child needs. It's important to understand our own conditioning and what the child needs. And this is what helps us grow up again with our children. Courage and willingness to look at ourselves. It's very courageous to look at ourselves. Self-compassion and self-reflection when we become aware of our motives and our agendas. Awareness of what we are willing to see and what we prefer to ignore. Being in touch with our resources, our connection with ourselves, and then with children. So this was about my presentation. I was going a little fast, I'm aware, because I didn't want to take too much time. And now the space is open for questions.
Thank you, Vinita. Like before anybody asks any questions, I would like to ask a couple of questions. You spoke a lot about restricting possibilities. There are conditions that restrict versus there are conditions that open up opportunities and horizons. And there is also a lot about how we as children pick up attitudes towards others through our experiences. Can you share more in these aspects, like where one is connecting? I felt all of these three were very connected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's basically, these attitudes, values, beliefs, what conditions are there which help children develop empowering attitudes and empowering values. For example, when there is a freedom to choose, freedom to explore and express, children learn that they can think, they can feel, they can express, they can explore, they have the agency. Whereas when we bring in our own agenda and we keep it very tight jacketed, that this is how things should be, this is what you should do, the task gets done, yes, but the attitude, what the child is picking up for life is, someone has to tell me what to do, someone has to tell me how to do. I don't have these capacities, and I can do it as long as I have the instructions. And if we are very harsh in giving the instructions, the child even loses that faith that I can do it. So the picking up of attitudes, values, beliefs comes right there. What the child learns through this is that I'm a worthy human being who can create an impact in the world, and I can be impacted in return. Because when the child expresses and we respond, the child is creating an impact. The child is experiencing that agency. The child is experiencing that experiences how we impact the child, and the child experiences how the child is impacting the world. Whereas if we be very, very strict, very, top-down model, what the child is learning is that I'm nobody in the system. The system is much larger. I don't have an agency to bring any change. I can only be a cog in the wheel, which is so powerful. In today's world, if we see, we need people who trust themselves, who trust their relationship with their environment, who trust that they can take an action and they can impact. They can have an impact. They can change things. We need change makers today. We do not need the followers who will blindly follow what the system wants them to do, because we all have seen what the system has done to this planet, to human life, to so many things. So they also begin to trust themselves. They develop the courage to notice what is working, what is not working. They develop the courage to say, okay, this is not working, I want to do it differently. And just imagine if we have more of that in today's world, what will happen? I hope I have answered your question. If not, please ask it differently and I will be able to say something more about it.
I think that answers it. And I think there's a lot of unlearning and unfolding to do to be able to actually implement something like that.
Yeah.
And there follows my next question. I'm sure this will come up in the chat. So before that itself, there's a lot of parents who have joined today. And what would be some inputs that you would have for parents who are considering this approach of organic learning for their children?
Let me share my screen again. I was expecting this question. Some of the inputs for parents. I think the first and foremost step for parents is to examine themselves. Why do they want to homeschool? What is their need? what do you want for your child right now, right here? What do you want to see in your child when he or she grows up? Some vision about what are you expecting from life for your child? Whether homeschooling or schooling, what are the gifts you cannot compromise on? What are the challenges you are okay fighting? What are the challenges you will not like to engage with? For example, for me, if I had to make my children sit and do their homework every day and prepare for their exams while finding no meaning in it, struggling every day with them was not a challenge I wanted to engage with. I felt how detrimental that would be for our relationship, for the child's growth and child's learning. And that wasn't something I was ready to engage with. I was okay engaging with all the challenges that come with homeschooling. Because one thing I want to say here is that irrespective of whatever choice we make, there will be gifts in that and there will be challenges in that. And this is a personal choice we make. Okay, I'm okay fighting these challenges. I'm not okay fighting these challenges. I'm okay. I can't give up on these gifts. And these are the gifts I can compromise on. So these are very important things. And when you start asking questions, there will be, I'm sure you will have your own questions. This is the first step. Ask yourself, what is your motive? Why do you want to do it? Because that is what will form, if we look at it from the mandala's perspective, that is what is the intent from design perspective. That is what will become the center from mandala's perspective. And that is from where then the things will flow out and come in, in so many different ways. And, also there are many homeschooling families today. If people are interested, I can give some links for that. I don't have those links ready, but we can post it on the Mandala Festival group. There are many my children are now adults, they're doing their own thing, and I can also support. But when you have children, you want to connect with families who have children of your own age doing the same thing. So that is something, there are many families today in India. They might be in your locality, they might be in different locality, somewhere else in the country, but they exist. And you can learn a lot from their experiences. And, I also personally support homeschoolers. If there is a group of interested people, we can always have question answer sessions. We can hold workshops if parents feel a need for that, to understand themselves, their children, and the process of learning.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned, right, you also support homeschoolers. How can people get in touch with you if
Yes, so
if they want to take things forward?
Yeah, so this is my email ID. This is my WhatsApp number. And yeah, you're most welcome to get in touch with me. And actually, there are some resources here, I realized. A list of resources maybe which can be shared on the Mandala Festival WhatsApp group. Harsh, it will be useful for people to explore these things, and I'm available here. This again.
Vinita, if you can share your phone number and email ID on the chat.
It's right here. Yeah, it's right here in this slide.
Yeah, so that people can copy paste from the chat.
Okay, I will share
type
it. Yeah, I'll share it in the chat. So I'll stop sharing the screen so that I can share it in the chat.
Yeah, I think I'll open it up for everybody else to share their views. And if there are any general questions you want to ask Vinita, please wait. So there is Rashmi Benakappa who says, this is an important topic of discussion for me, Vinita. Homeschooling. My question for you is, what are your emotions and experience after having been there, done that? Have had gone through the process now. My second question is, do you feel that you would have balanced regular schooling method with also holding space of homeschooling kind of environment would have been better, as children would anyway go ahead with blaming for taking a decision on their behalf to homeschool approach? Please take time to answer both questions individually. Really appreciate to have come across you and your insights. I am glad to have heard from you. That is Rashmi.
Okay. So do we have time to go into responding?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for your question, Rashmi, and thank you for your interest. About my emotions around it, I'm very, very passionate about it. Having seen the results with my children, with other children in the homeschooling families, I have worked with all, I have, I develop learning spaces, and I see children who come out of that space are so grounded, so beautiful. They are like a mandala. So it's very, very beautiful. And yes, there are certain stages my children also missed peer group, especially when they were 14, 15 years of age. For 2 years, it was really difficult when they were preparing for their 10th grade exam. Otherwise, they have thoroughly enjoyed it. And could I have managed it with regular schooling? So it was not only a matter of learning the content. The content they could have learned at home or in the school. It's the attitudes the child picks up. Attitudes from that environment, attitudes where a lot is controlled by the system, where the child has very little to say, to explore, to express. Even when we have we have some progressive schools, they're very good. I'm not putting down the schools in any way, but for me, I felt at least till the age of 12 or 13, if I have to do it all over again, I will not send my children to even to the best of the schools in the country. And my children, I would send them at the age of 13, 14. I won't send them to school before that. Perhaps that's the stage I will do differently, but not before that. And that is because that is when the child is really picking up what life is all about. The child is really getting in touch with his or her own power, how to express. The child is really learning relationships. The child is expanding, the child is absorbing. And at that time, the most important thing is that the child grows up in that kind of a flow, experiencing his or her own power and very compassionate and loving space. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, I see a nod from Rashmi. I think there are lots of people speaking. I'll just read that out for you. Wonderful thoughts. Thank you, Vinita ji, for sharing. That is Sindhu. Thanks for bringing the big importance of organic schooling as parents, how to structure it, how to support a child to grow. As a parent, how to validate he is growing, finding their desire. That is Santosh.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say this organic schooling is very, these two words are very contradictory. I just want to point that out. That, so yeah, so it's, yeah, that's what stood out for me. And all are these questions you're asking, because these need a much larger space, and some of the resources I would be sharing, you will get some input from there, and we can always connect outside of this space, because if we go into that, it will become another big session. So maybe it's not a good time right now to go there. I hope you're okay with that.
think we'd move forward. Through this presentation of homeschooling, many thought-provoking contemplations occurred. This topic really had a powerful message. Everyone should be aware. Thank you so much, Vinita. That was Hariharan. Appreciate your strength and clarity, Vinita, with regard to successfully handling the challenges in homeschooling your children. Really admire your stand for what you believe. That was Anita. Thank you, Vinita, ma'am. Inspirational journey and appreciation. And thanks for creating such organic spaces. That was Subbu.
Thank you.
Hello, Vinita. Very informative session. Yes, parents need to evolve and help the next generation. Vinita, you are a strong woman. I admire you. That was Ruby.
Thank you.
Glad to listen to you again, Vinita. Your journey had always been inspiring for me. My question is how to get kids have a regular peer group like in school. That is Raman.
Yeah. So do we have space for this answer?
Yeah, we can take that.
Yeah.
This one. I think this can.
Yeah. So here, see, in the school, they will not get a peer group like school. And I don't know, in the school, they are all in the same age group, but life provides a lot of relationships. Life is not about being in the range of 1 year of age gap, 20 people of 1 year of age gap, right? Life provides relationships. They can be friends with a newborn baby, and they can be friends with a grandfather and a great grandfather, and they can be friends with all the ages in between. Life is happening. How we make life happen for them is our responsibility. It's not about just leaving them into a corner and saying, now this is homeschooling and you do it. We are living life. We are creating a space of life for them. And that is, the onus is on us. And it will be a different kind of relational space for them we can create. And yeah, we can talk about it another time in greater detail, but I just wanted to address it very shortly.
Thank you. But that made a lot of sense. Look at it that way.
And also in
Hello,
terms
Vinita.
of socialization, we feel socialization is about being with other people. Socialization is also about knowing myself, what is okay for me, what is not okay for me, what I want to take, what I don't want to take in. And that's what life provides. It's okay to not meet your friends, and it's okay to meet one friend and not the other. We make those choices all the time. But in the name of socialization, we expect our children to play with 10 children with same kind of enthusiasm day in and day out, and no choice of saying no, no choice of moving out of those relationships. If we look at it from larger perspective of life, what are the messages the child is getting is something which is very important. Yeah, sorry, Harshvardhan, please carry on.
Yeah, but that was required. It made a lot of sense. Yeah. Moving ahead. Hello, Vinita. The two options slide felt like a reinforcer to me. Being a mother of a child with LD, I only realized that connecting to my intention and his intention and the intention of why he is born to me is the way to hold space. And today he is beyond this difficulty, and we both wonder at his progress, and I had to reparent myself to hold space. Thanks for putting this vast topic in this essence perspective so succinctly, yet descriptively. My choices of my kids' school has always been based on their need and not an automatic formula. I know I have a lot to share and listen from you. I feel grateful listening to you, dear. So grateful. That was Deepa. Lot of gratitude for the entire presentation. Conditioning buster indeed. Thank you so much. That was Vishnu.
Thank you, Vishnu.
That was a bold and a needed organic journey. Wonderfully shared, Vinita. The highlight is the point of not what we do, but how we do it matters. Yes, we grow up too with our children. That was Shivapriya. There was so much gentleness and power in your message today. It really helps reinforce my understanding of nurturing the seed and create the right environment for growth. Thank you. That was Aditya. Very informative. As a budding adult, lot of food for thought. Holding tightly versus being held. Shielding versus enablement. Obedience versus respect. Acting grown up versus growing along with the children. A lot of perspectives to explore and contemplate. Thank you, Vinita ji. That was Harita.
Thank you, Harita.
I had always had a lot of questions about homeschooling. Most of it are unanswered here. Most of it are answered here. Taking a lot of pointers to contemplate on about learning, perhaps learning, parenting, and natural growth. Thank you for lighting the spark. That was Anvita.
Thank you, Vinita.
Well-structured way of putting across to the parents as to how to hold the space for children, for their growth and expansion. Thank you for presenting at the Mandala Festival, Vinita. That was Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you for giving this opportunity to share my passion here with so many people. Thanks.
Thank you once again, Vinita. It was really, really insightful to listen to you and hope to connect and get more to learn from you in the future.
Thank you, Harsh.
Thank you very much. So now moving forward towards the celebration of Mandala Festival. We've been talking about so many things: intention, action, expansion, and in so many different perspectives. But what is the framework behind it? How does it all work? We have today with us Sudarshan, who will show us the mandala of an action through his presentation. A little bit about Sudarshan before we go ahead. Sudarshan has been on the journey to understand himself for a while now. In the last few years, he has accelerated this journey of self-discovery by being more intentional and conscious about his role as a learner of truth. Some of the other roles that he plays include son, partner, brother, chittappa, mama, friend, software engineer, manager, photographer, etc. He had the fortune of being introduced to the profoundness of mandalas through Pavitram a few years ago. And ever since the knowledge came to him, they have become a part of his life now. He has been exploring the mandala of the current moment to see the truth. All to you, Sudarshan.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thanks, Harsh. Thanks for that introduction. I'll get started and try to present.
Sudarshan, we can't hear you.
Sudarshan,
Can you restart, please? You're muted again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the mandala of an action. Um, first, before I jump into the topic, I wanted to start talking about what is my connect with mandalas and how mandalas have changed the way I understand things. Like Harsh was just mentioning, I was introduced to mandalas a few years back, and I got into a program for using mandalas as a tool for understanding in Pavitram, and that's how I got introduced to mandalas. And ever since then, for me, mandalas have been a tool for my contemplation. Like whenever I start looking at something that I want to understand, and I start seeing it, start digging deeper into what it is and trying to understand what is behind whatever I see. Mandalas have always provided me the answer. Like whenever the deeper I go, and then a mandala appears, and that's how I understand things. That's briefly about how mandalas make my explorations easier, and how that as a tool has helped me personally in my journey. So with that, a little bit of introduction and connect between me and mandalas, I'll get right into the topic. So when we're talking about an action, there is an intention, right? We intended to perform that action. And for the exploration that I'm going to go into today in this presentation, we are going to take an example of performing a very simple action. The action that we are going to look at is draw an avarna. So the action in itself that we are drawing an avarna is this. You have a center and you draw the avarna. This is the action. The action is complete, right? But the way we look at, like when we look deeper into this action, if you go try to understand this action better, right? What is the origin of this action? How is this action coming into play? There are several aspects when you start looking at it. One of the aspect is memory. I have a memory of seeing a mandala, seeing a circle. I have a memory of an avarna. And that memory brings in some energy, and that energy is part of the action. And when I look at it deeper, there is also a desire. With the memory, there's also a desire that I want to draw this avarna. The desire pops up, and then there is a willpower that comes along with that desire. And then that adds a little bit of energy to that action. What else is there? Then there is a thought. Even though there's a desire, then there is this thought to actually make that desire into reality. And then there is knowledge. Like you have to have the knowledge of how do you draw this mandala? How do you draw this first circle? How do you draw the avarna? All of that is knowledge that you've learned from the time you were born, right? And then there is also the tools that is required. Like you need the paper, you need the compass, you need the pencil, you need like to center, you need all of these different tools that you need. These are all some tools actually. Like, I think if you look at it even more deeply, there is like your hand, and that is the ability, like the ability for your hand to hold the pencil, the ability for your hand to make the circle, the ability for your hand and eyes to coordinate and put the pencil there and start drawing. That is another energy that plays a part in your in drawing the avarna. Then there is the role. Like, you play the role of a person who is drawing. You are the artist making that mandala, or you are the explorer using that mandala to explore yourself. Those roles also come into play. And beyond all this, there is also your existence. You being there is an important part of doing that action. So in total, all of these different energies, they all come together to make a very simple action of drawing an avarna. And that's how the union of all of these different energies within you in this present moment is what brings about the creation of this avarna and the creation of this mandala. So even though it looks like all of these are, the way I described it, it feels like all of these are like independent things that happen. But in reality, what happens is more like this. I'll play the video and talk about it a little after the video. So actually, if you take a close look at this video, what it represents is what, if you look at this video as a kind of an energy space in your brain, this is kind of what happens in reality, right? Like there is this energy center on the left, which is blooming in itself. In parallel, there is another energy center that has a blooming. Like this can be a desire that is blooming, and in parallel there is the start of actually getting this together and actually taking that action. Then there is another energy center here, which is like your emotions involved in that is coming in. And actually the actual action is in the center here. And all of these different energy systems like basically combine together, and in the end you produce the action, and that is the mandala that you see in the center. This is just a simple example of like a small subset of energies, like how. So if we look at it from the previous slide, so each of these things here that I've represented are actually mandalas by themselves. Like if you go digging into each of these things, you can again blow them up into like another subset of energies, and like how this energy came into existence. Basically, this is the framework that you can use to start digging deeper and trying to understand what is happening behind an action. So if you want to take another closer look at the avarna, what happens there inside an avarna, right? So first, when you want to draw an avarna, you draw the two circles, and then you first draw one single pattern. This pattern is a one pattern, but this pattern sets the precedent for everything that comes ahead. This pattern becomes the basis, and this is an example of how an action, when you project it into the future, has the potential to change how the future is. And so when you decide to make this pattern this specific way, then everything else follows to be the same pattern. So the action that you perform is crucial for how the next action happens, right? So when you look at it as in total, so every time you perform the same action within an avarna, there is also an element of repetition and an element of the human evolution process. Also through this repetition is also always trying to get better and better. And so every time you do an action, you try to see all these energies and try to see how you get better and better and better. And having an understanding of these different energies behind these actions help you, in my opinion, to get there. Thank you. I would also like to thank Varun for actually creating that video of how the different energies interact. Really appreciate his effort for putting that together and sharing with us for this Mandala Festival. Thank you. Thank you, Varun.
Thank you, Sudarshan. It was such a clear, concise framework, discriminate, center, and align with a very clear structure as to how to observe and contemplate. Thank you very much for sharing. I'll now open it for everyone to please share their words for Sudarshan on chat. And in case there are any questions that you want to ask to Sudarshan, you can share them also. Crisp, clear, and very, very brilliantly put across, Sudarshan. Lots of love for taking up the mandala into your heart and bringing it out to your wonderful expression of speech. That was Prasad. Loved it.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you.
It was really nice to see your contemplation and understanding being so tangible and relatable. Thank you for condensing your contemplation and learnings in such a nice manner. It has really helped open my eyes by seeing it all come to life visually. That was Aditya.
Thank you, Aditya.
Felt a lot of beauty and love towards the creation after getting an idea of everything that goes into creating it. Thanks a lot for making this moment happen, Sudarshan. That was Arvind.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you.
Amazed by the depth at which you narrated. I had all these mandalas of action coming into picture while drawing it. You clearly explained on your meaningful contemplation, Sudarshan. That was Dharini.
Thank you, Dharini.
Hello, Sudarshan. Thanks for the detailed insight on the mandala of an action. Brilliantly presented. That was Ruby.
Thank you, Auntie.
Thanks so much for this description of different frequencies and its union to create an action. Does this mean that contamination could occur at any of these aspects and therefore the action not occurring? Can you take a bit on that perspective, please? Can you talk a bit on that perspective, please? That is Deepa.
So I think it is true that the contamination can happen in any of these different energies, and then can come from any of these energy spaces. The contamination can come from that. So I think that is also why it is important personally for me to keep purifying every small aspect and every small energy space, and keep proceeding, like keep working on trying to eliminate contamination in every single space possible. And for me, I'm on that journey. I'm trying to drop wherever possible these, whenever I'm able to see these contaminations. I think the first important aspect is actually seeing them and recognizing them. And what I see is, like, once I'm able to separate that these different spaces exist, only then I'm able to see. And once I'm able to see, then the next step is to drop the contamination. And so this is my journey of that's how I've been trying to understand the different spaces and how to drop these contaminations. That's my take on why it is important to see these different energies.
I think I see a thumbs up from Lisa in the video. Thank you, Sudarshan. It has given me another lens to look at mandalas. I've been exploring mandalas with Prasad and this group for the past 2 years. Such clarity and explained so beautifully. I see every action differently now. That was Vinita.
Thank you, Vinita.
Thank you for bringing into light all the different energies that are at play every time we have an intent to perform every single action, big or small. Thank you for sharing your contemplation with us today, Sudarshan. That was Divya.
Thank you. Thank you, Divya.
Well, briefly explained. Loved the way you presented. No words to say. Huge applause. Thank you, Sudarshan. That was Hariharan.
Thank you, Hariharan.
Sudarshan, it is detailed and crisp at the same time. Can see the mandala of a mandala with different faculties through your contemplation and action. Beautiful. That was Shivapriya.
Thank you, Shiva.
I have gained a different perspective from your perception. I know this perspective is going to help me a lot. Thanks a lot, Sudarshan. That was Abhiram.
Thank you.
Wonderful representation of mandalas and life itself. You put it across in a crisp and simple way, yet so deep and meaningful. Thank you for sharing your contemplation. Lots of gratitude. Anvita.
Thank you, Anvi.
Framework with a clear intention and ability to extend itself to create many actions. Truly polymorphic and encapsulated. Thank you, Sudarshan, for a very clear and precise presentation. That was Vishnu.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Contamination. Very well explained, Sudarshan. You are seeing, my dear seer. That was Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad.
Thanks, Sudarshan, for the framework of the mandala with action. Simple, clarity, sharing experience with mandala, and why important to do mandala. Thanks for different dimensions. That was Santosh.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you.
Hi, Sudarshan. Your presentation was well dissected. Would take away the importance of consistency and being authentic without contaminations from both external and internal. Thank you. That was Harita.
Thank you, Harita. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudarshan. I think this has been a very clear frame.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you for the opportunity for presenting my contemplation also. Thank you so much.
We come now to the conclusive end of the Mandala Festival. But what's a festival without a song? I would like to dedicate this song to all of you and to the inspiration from which it arrived. To that which is beyond what we say or what I say, it's me. हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना, सरक जाएगी जो तू चलता जाएगा ना, हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना, सरक जाएगी जो जमीन, तू चलता जाएगा ना। लहरों के इस भंवर में तू तैर सकेगा ना। इनकी गहराइयों में घुसकर उस पार आएगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। इस यज्ञ में आहुति बनकर तू जल सकेगा ना। इस अग्नि में तू खुद को मिटाकर ढल सकेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। अज्ञान की राख उड़ा के तू बह सकेगा ना। जब आवाज देंगी हवाएं तू चल पड़ेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। 3 कदम में आकाश पार तू आ मिलेगा ना। देर हुई इंतजार में और देर करेगा क्या। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। हजारों को साथ लेकर तू चल सकेगा ना। सरक जाएगी जो जमीन, तू चलता जाएगा ना। तू चलता जाएगा ना। तू चलता जाएगा ना।
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you so much for singing for us so beautifully.
Thank you.
We all need a moment to really soak in it. That's such beautiful conclusion to the meeting. I would like to take a few minutes to thank everyone and everything that has made it possible for us to have gone through this event so beautifully. I want to thank all of you guys, like all the audience. You have been with us for last 3 hours. Like you're here with the same interest. You're here sharing our journey in this togetherness and joy and learning. We're all here today. We're sharing insights. We're sharing our comments. We're learning from each other. So thank you all for being here, for supporting all of us, for encouraging all of us to share our knowledge, for taking that knowledge. Thank you. I would also like to thank all the presenters who have presented today. Aditya, thank you. Thank you, Sudarshan. Thank you, Vineeta. Thank you, Shivapriya. Thank you, Kanishka. Thank you, Divya. Thank you for bringing in all the mandalas of various types of mandalas through your knowledge. Mandala of farming, mandala of design, mandala of action, mandala of organic learning. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Thank you for passing it on. Also thanking all the coordinators. This event today has run so beautifully. There has been a lot of support. There has been a lot of work that has happened in the background. So many people have made it happen. So thank you all the coordinators, all of those who have run behind, who have made this possible. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Dharmi. Thank you, Nainika, Aditya, Shiva, Anvi, Varun, Abhi, Hariharan, Santosh. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you, Bhatishri. Thank you to Disha, Balaji, Purnima, Bhavisha. Thank you all for just making this possible, for making this event happen. Thank you for holding the space. Thank you. I want to thank Prasad on behalf of all of us. Thank you, Prasad, for sowing the seed of Mandala Festival, for initiating it. Year by year, we're all seeing that tree grow, and we're all being under that tree and just getting so much from it in that shadow. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you so much. I also want to extend gratitude to Divine Mother, who has passed on her blessings today so that this event could happen so beautifully, so smoothly, for holding the space, for blessing all of us, for allowing that knowledge to flow through all of us. Thanking that Divine Mother on behalf of all of us. Thanking the Guru in all the forms who has blessed us with the knowledge today. And lastly, I want to thank Harshvardhan for holding all of us together for last. Sorry. Am I audible? Yes. Yes. So thank you, Harshvardhan, for holding all of us together for last 3 hours. I remember the moment you were asked to host Mandala Festival, like within a second, you just said yes. And from that moment, you have been seeing mandalas everywhere. You have been trying to understand mandalas. What is this mandala of songs? What is this mandala of dance? You have been that like a small child trying to find out. And today, through I'm sure you understood it. And through you, today we were also able to understand. So thank you so much. The way you anchored today, that itself felt like a mandala to me. We all were here and there in 6:30, we all came here. And then you sang that shloka, Akhanda Mandalakara, and expressing gratitude towards all the gurus for everything. And that chanting in your deep voice, it kind of created a center. It got me to that center, and I got settled, and I'm sure others have felt it too. So thank you for starting with that center, expanding all the mandalas layer by layer, and in the end, in the break also you played a beautiful flute piece that also got us centered again towards the event. And in the end, when you sang to conclude, it felt like that mandala just grew beyond the paper. It merged into everything. So thank you so much for that mandala. I would like to request you all to share your appreciations for Harsh in chat box. I'll read them out for him. Dharni says, Harsh, lovely raga. Thanks for devoting the song with immense devotion.
Thank you.
Prasad says, well held space and its content like the mandala. You drew and explained it well.
Thank you.
Arya says, she was carried away by the soulful singing and soothing voice. Thanks, Harsh. Prasad says, you helped everyone to be a part of it too. Gratitude. Aditya says, your involvement in the song really invokes such passion and fire inside to connect with the deeper self. Thank you so much, Harsh, for bringing this into life. Vishnu says, so gentle, Harsh. Thank you for the grace with which you carried the role. Amazing singing as well. Srilata says, love the spirit of the song. The way you brought it up also in the translation. Excellent. Santosh says, thanks, Harsh, devoting the song and devoting yourself. Abhirami says, one word, goosebumps. Anvita says, wonderfully held the space. Thank you for holding the thread from beginning to the end.
Thank you.
Vinita says, thank you, Harsh. Such passion and such devotion. Just loved it. And your translation and singing, both are so soulful. Shresh says, love the way you sang. Love the way you sang. Really inspired by the way you held the space today.
Thank you.
Divya says, thank you for holding the space for all of us to come together today, Harsh. Loved all your soulful music. Loved how you so gracefully led the way today. Amazing translation of the poem, Harsh. Thank you today. Thank you for today. Arvind says, really impressed by how you decided on 10-minute breaks to sort things out and engaged us with a beautiful flute performance after we returned, Harsh. Harita is saying, thank you, Harsh, for holding the space for us and keeping program centered. Lot of strength and devotion. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Sudarshan says, thanks for being so grounded and thanks for being the grounded center as well as being the one holding the space today. Nanika says, so beautifully you held this space and ended it with such a lovely rendition. Thank you for so gracefully conducting the event from the beginning to the end. Hariharan has given a lot of applauses to you, Harsh. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It just keeps coming. Venu says, hi Harsh, wonderful anchoring, beautiful flute rendition and singing. You did it all with grace.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you all for being a part of the event today. It was lovely having you. Thank you all. Lend the small invitation.
So we'll end with two invocations today. One that we started off with to anchor it to the end and tie the knot, and then so that we can close it. Om. न तु मां शक्यसे द्रष्टुम् अनेनैव सचक्षुषा दिव्यं ददामि ते चक्षुः पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु
Thank you.